Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's very special web seminar. We're delighted as a company to welcome in one of our customers tonight. His name is Darren Jobling. He's just returned to the United Kingdom, having served, I think, 3 years in Afghanistan on a US Army base. And, you know, I always thought trading could be quite difficult, sitting there in my nice, comfortable office in the New Forest, looking out over the forest, just focusing on my screens. Well, when I heard Darren's story, I had to ask him, would you do a seminar to explain to people what you've been through and your journey? And I'm very pleased to say, although Darren is not an employee or affiliated with TradeGuider in any way, he's a customer who found us by accident, as you're going to hear. But I personally believe there's no such thing as an accident in life. We're all meant to connect at the right time in the right place. And what I found, Darren has been to several mentorship courses that have been held by Tom Williams and myself. And I would actually class Darren as the perfect student. And as many of you know, I've returned to England to start a hedge fund here, which we're progressing on very well with. And, you know, as part of that project, we're looking for great traders. And I think with Darren, we found one. And most importantly, though, what I want you to do tonight is use your mind like a parachute. It's best used when it's open. What you're going to hear tonight is one man's journey, and a journey which actually took him through very serious danger points in his life, but also, if you listen to the story, at the other end of it, a very rewarding outcome. Life is about risk. We know this. Everything we do in life, even walking down the street sometimes, involves risk. Trading as a business definitely involves risk. What you're going to hear tonight is a journey, a story of how a person, an individual, found some information and then utilized it to benefit himself and then others, as you're going to hear tonight. Darren is going to spend his time with you tonight, not as a paid member of TradeGuider, or he's nothing to do with our company at the moment. He's a customer who wants to give something back. And so his time tonight, I know he mentioned earlier before we started the recording, he thanks you for your time, but I want to personally thank Darren for his time tonight in sharing knowledge, which I'm sure will open your eyes. So will you please give a very warm welcome for his first ever public presentation to Darren Jobling, who I believe is going to be a brilliant trader and is certainly a great friend of TradeGuider. Darren, over to you.
Thanks, Gavin, for a wonderful introduction. Good evening, everybody. Again, I'd like to thank everybody from all over the world. I know we've got people in from Australia, from America, from pretty much Russia. So, you know, I understand it's early in some parts of the world and it's late in others. So I really do appreciate you taking the time to come and listen to, you know, to my story. Everybody has a story, but you know, I really do appreciate your time, and I will try to make it as entertaining as possible. But this is pretty much my story from Afghanistan. As Gavin said, I was a contractor in Afghanistan for just under 3 years. So this is a little bit about me, about Afghanistan, about how I found trading, and how Afghanistan, believe it or not, has helped me in trading, with emotions, with risk, and patience as well. Patience is a very strong attribute as well for trading. So this pretty much is my journey, and hopefully, you know, you'll enjoy the ride as much as I did. Okay. This is pretty much me in Afghanistan. This is roughly 2011 when I first arrived. To be fair, I had no idea, absolutely no idea what I was walking into. I suppose if I did, then I probably wouldn't have went. It was a very, very, very let's say eye-opener. Yeah, that's probably the best way I could describe it. But December 2011, I landed in Kandahar, and then pretty much moved within a few days from Kandahar to my base in a forward operating base called Walton, which was about 10-15 miles outside of Kandahar. So that ended up pretty much my home over Christmas 2011. So this is a nice shot of Afghanistan. Most people unfortunately don't get to see what I got to see in Afghanistan. Most people just see the news and the awful side of it. But you know, if you ever do get a chance, and you know, hopefully in the future, when Afghanistan does become a more settled place, what a beautiful part of the world it is. I would really recommend that, you know, God permitting, Afghanistan does settle down, that, you know, if you do get a chance, travel there, because they're beautiful, beautiful people, and it's a beautiful, beautiful area. So this was my base, and I stayed on this base for about 12 months. This is pretty much my home. This was my home. Tent with 20-25 other guys, and pretty much it was, you got 4 foot square maximum, which was your own personal space. So this became my home, my office, my trading room, and just my little escape from the world, really. So it was difficult at first to deal with, but at least it gave me somewhere to be able to switch off and just have that little bit of privacy. This was my world, my little space in Afghanistan. And you know, it doesn't look much. It wasn't much, but it was everything to me. It was private. It was where I would Skype home. I would Skype my wife and my daughters, which was very, very important. But this was my little home. But what this did allow us, what the opportunities in Afghanistan did give us, and did teach us, was a lot about myself, and a lot about my family, and how much, you know, my family meant to me. Sometimes we take that for granted. Sometimes, you know, you do underestimate, you know, the life we do have, certainly in developed countries, where we do have access to, you know, mobile phones and everything. So communication is pretty easy. It's, you know, we have, you know, the iPhones, we have Skype, we have, you know, the computers, the text, the Facebooks and everything else. But when you're in a confined environment where you don't have that, because due to operational security, there would be a lot of times when Facebook and communication systems would be cut if there was ever an incident in theatre. Then, you know, potentially the outside communication systems could be cut for obvious reasons, if, you know, if messages were posted on Facebook and so on. But like I say, the challenge in Afghanistan allowed me to spend some fantastic time back home. I managed to get home every few weeks. It was about every 12 to 15 weeks we'd managed to get home. So, and when I did get home, we'd certainly make the most of it, myself and my wife. After the first couple of R&Rs where we had a bit of family trauma back home, we decided to make the the best of what we had, which was only 13, 14 days, but we try to make the best of that and just try to see as much of the world as we possibly could and have some quality time as a family. So me sitting in the pool, this was pretty much taken a couple of weeks ago in Cyprus. So this was after the final tour. This was 2 weeks just pretty much spent in that pool with my iPad, listening to webinars, pretty much where you're sitting now, and just listening to Gavin's presentations, which I've done for a while now. So that's pretty much me. So I landed in Afghanistan in 2011, like I said. I've been in Afghanistan for a little under 3 years. Whilst in Afghanistan, I was working as a contractor on a number of US military bases in the Kandahar area, in the Herat area, which is on the border of Iran, in Afghanistan. Whilst in Afghanistan, it won't come as any surprise that pretty much we were under constant rocket attack and ground attacks and attacks at the entry points of our bases from suicide bombers. Whilst I was deployed, unfortunately I lost friends in Afghanistan, both military and civilian. And whilst I was out there, as I touched on earlier, I lost family members back home in the UK, which was probably one of the hardest things to deal with. But losing people is probably the hardest thing to deal with in Afghanistan, because you're so far away from home. To be honest, you may as well be on the moon, emotionally wise, because there's nothing you can do, and you've got very little support emotionally, because you don't want to let your emotions overrule your normal routine. So you don't want to appear to be weak, because not that showing emotions is weak, but it can influence certainly yourself, but it can influence the guys around you as well. Because the guys around me, I was responsible for a team of guys, always looked at me for support. They looked at me to be the strong one. And when you're coming under rocket attacks and ground attacks and stuff like that, you guys need to be able to trust you. So that was probably one of my hardest things to deal with. But during my time there, as you can imagine, to fill your time before I found trading, we'd watch a number of TV shows, movies. We'd have movie nights and stuff like that, PlayStation, all of that type of stuff. But it was during one of these shows, a show called Boardwalk Empire, which I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen, regarding the gangsters in the early 1900s. And that's where, bizarrely enough, I stumbled across market manipulation. It was a scene within one of these episodes that showed some insider trading and some market manipulation on a stock called Anaconda, which pretty much was my start of coming across market manipulation. So from there, I pretty much started my journey from Boardwalk Empire and started to just do a little bit of research, just to fill time, really, just to kill time on market manipulation and the stock market at that time. So the name that I kept coming across was Richard D. Wyckoff. Now, most people in the room obviously would recognize that name. Richard DeMille Wyckoff, for those who are new to VSA trading and new into the room, I know we do have a lot of people who have never studied VSA before, have never studied trading before, so pretty similar to myself in, you know, the early part of this year. But Richard Wyckoff was a trader in the 1900s who pretty much recognized from a very early stage that the composite operator could move the market. He pretty much studied the market for most of his life, writing newspaper columns, and also an actual training program that he released to the public that the public could subscribe to, so that they could avoid really being manipulated in the markets at that time. So this obviously led me on to studying Richard Wyckoff and you know, looking at his books and starting to get a feel of what he meant by market manipulation. What did he mean by, you know, the composite operator and so on and so on. So started studying Richard's books, and Richard pretty much used volume and price. That's all they had in the days, as most people are aware. Now, my thoughts at the time were, if Richard Wyckoff could make money out of the markets just using volume and price from a ticker tape, you know, these days we have, you know, the computers, the software, and everything else that you know that trading has. But yet these guys had virtually nothing. Like I say, they had the tape, and that's all they had. But yet they still made millions and millions and millions of dollars in the early 1900s. Now, one of Richard Wyckoff's studies, he done a study on a guy called Jesse Livermore, which again, a majority of people will know who Jesse Livermore is and will know who Wyckoff is. But if you can bear with us for a moment, for the people who don't know who Jesse Livermore is, or don't know who Wyckoff is, basically Jesse Livermore was one of the iconic traders of the 1900s. He started trading at the age of 15 and had the nickname the Boy Plunger, because he literally went all in. To start with, he went all in. In fact, pretty much most of his trading career, he was a big player towards the end. He made millions, he lost millions, he made millions again, and he lost millions again. But Jesse realized that the stock market was manipulated, that manipulation had begun well before, you know 1930s, 20s. So you know, manipulation was, it was there pretty much from the start of the stock market. So Jesse Livermore was aware of this, and he traded on that. He traded on, you know, this, what we as VSA traders would call the footprint. Now, the Wyckoff method, or Wyckoff's method of trading, along with the likes of Jesse Livermore, told us that pretty much the composite operator could and constantly did manipulate the stock market during the early 1900s. Wyckoff studied some of the great traders, like I said, Jesse Livermore, who believed that the markets were manipulated using volume and price from the ticker tape. They both managed to take millions of dollars following the composite operator. From there, it was pretty much that my research then led me into modern day. So following from Wyckoff to Jesse Livermore, it brought me to pretty much to our master. This, of course, is Tom Williams, and pretty much Tom's story was mesmerizing to me in Afghanistan. I was hooked pretty much from the first article I read about Tom. And again, you know, for the guys who have been with VSA for a while, if you can bear with us for a second while I explain to the new people in the room who Tom Williams is. Tom Williams took Richard Wyckoff's methods and the Wyckoff way of trading, and he brought it into the computer age. Pretty much Tom went to the States to make his fortune, and ended up in a syndicate, working for a syndicate, doing charts by hand. So pretty much Tom brought that knowledge back to the UK with his experience in the markets after being in the States for a long time. Was able to retire at 40, which has got to be very nice to be able to retire at 40. And Tom pretty much computerized the Wyckoff method of trading, which, as we know, is the VSA, volume spread analysis, which we follow today. So reading Tom's book, The Undeclared Secrets That Drive the Stock Market, was pretty much one of my keystones of my learning, and actually being able to realize that, yeah, the market is manipulated. It's very clear to me that the market is manipulated. So again, you know, following on from Tom's lead, reading Tom's books, I was lucky enough to be able to hook up with Gavin Holmes. Again, for most of you know Gavin. Gavin's Tom's protege and Tom's student for a long time. So that was pretty much where my dream started, because at that point I was looking for something. I didn't know I was looking for something, but I was looking for something, and it was, you know, I was down at the time. I was stressed. I think it was roughly about 2 years, just under 2 years I'd been there, and I was looking for something, and luckily enough for me, I found Gavin. I managed to contact Gavin, and that's pretty much where it started for me. So reading Tom's books, and then, you know, going on to Gavin's book, which was released a little bit later. Sorry for that. It just made sense. It made sense to me. It just started bringing everything home, even though at that point, you know, I couldn't read a chart to save my life at that stage. But what I did understand and what I did accept very early is that the markets were manipulated, and I think that's got to be the decider. If you understand and you accept that the markets are manipulated, we don't need to know how, and we don't need to know why. We just, you know, from my personal perspective, all I need to know is that it is manipulated, and that's the gift that Richard Wyckoff, you know, Tom Williams and Gavin Holmes gave me. They gave me the gift of being able to realize that, yeah, the market is manipulated, but, you know, manipulation's not a bad thing when you understand the game. So like I touched on earlier, the emotions and the risk, living and working in Afghanistan was a challenge and an adventure. I've met some fantastic people, some of the, you know, absolute salt of the earth, both military and civilian. Some absolutely crazy guys from Australia, from Lithuania, from Belgium, from, you know, Russia, pretty much all over the world, and, you know, local people. The Afghan people, again, you know, are beautiful people. They're very, very, you know, intelligent. They're very appreciative. You know, again, this is just my personal experience, but you know, you hear a lot of, you know, the Afghan population, you know, they hate the West and they hate it. That isn't the case. You know, I don't really want to dwell on that too much, but that isn't the case. The beautiful, beautiful people. So like I say, I had some fantastic experiences out there. You know, I've done things that I would never ever have thought I'd be able to do in my life. You know, I've mixed with people that, you know, I never ever would have gotten the chance to do that had I not gone to Afghanistan. So you know, it really was so, you know, some fantastic times in my life. But I've also had some experiences that'll haunt us. You know, that goes without saying. You know, you can't go into that type of place and, you know, everything be a bed of roses. So, you know, I am gonna have memories that, you know, I don't particularly want, but they will stay with me for a very, very long time. But I learned very early on in Afghanistan that you either control your emotions or they will control you. It's as simple as that. If you let your emotions overtake you, you know, you're no good to yourself, you're no good to your workmates, or you know, the guys around you, because everybody needs to rely on each other. You know, I was just a little cog in a big machine, but all those little cogs make the big cogs turn, and without the little cogs, the big cogs don't turn, and that's just the way it was. So, you know, during my time in Afghanistan, you know, there was multitudes of rocket attacks. You know, pretty much 2, 3, 4 times a day at least. And it could be any time of the day. It could be, you know, the middle of the night, early morning. Even when we were having lunch, we had rocket attacks when we were having lunch. So you know, the attack will go off. You literally have to jump under the table until we got the all clear. But what I did learn and found that you know, not everybody can cope out there. You know, there was there was guys who couldn't really it was difficult. You know, it was difficult for me. It was difficult for anybody. But some guys have got more of a tolerance than other people, and that's not belittling anybody, because anybody who goes, you know, into those environments is, you know, you've got to have your, you know, some strength of character to be there in the first place. But so my hat went off to everybody who was out there, and certainly, you know, I wouldn't think less of anybody for just deciding, you know, hands up, I'm done, it's my turn. Which, you know, I had on a few occasions where we were in the bunkers in early hours in the morning, and guys were literally physically sick at the end of the bunker. They just, you know, it was their time. You know, they were done, and it was time for them, you know, to go home. But for me, I had my reasons for being out there, so I needed to control my fear and pull it back in as soon as I realized that I was panicking. You know, there would have been no difference between myself and the guy standing next to us who would throw his hands up and went, yeah, I'm done. It was just, for me, trying to control the emotions and trying just to take, you know, that 10 seconds, those big deep breaths, and just say, right, you know, let's assess the situation. Let's look at where we are. You know, where do we move? You know, what's our next point? Where do we move from here? But fear wasn't the only emotion that consumed us in Afghanistan. Believe it or not, the biggest emotion and the biggest problem I had wasn't fear. It was missing home. As you can imagine, I mean, a majority of people in the room, I would imagine, are family-orientated people. You know, brothers, sisters, you know, mothers, fathers, sons, daughters, wives. So that was predominantly my biggest challenge, that I missed my family so much from the very first day. And my daughters are at an age where they could support their mum, which was one of the deciding factors of me going to Afghanistan. But you just, my girls are at the time were about 17 and 20, 17 and 22. So they were at an age where they could support the mum, but it was to me they may as well have been 4 and 5 year old. They may as well have been babies, because it didn't make the slightest bit of difference their age how much I missed them. It was really a tough time. But again, it was a mix of emotions that I had to control, because if not, like I said earlier, the emotions, if I didn't control them, they would control me, which is, ultimately risk my safety and the safety of the guys around us. So the mix of emotions to control, I believe this genuinely has helped me prepare for trading. I think risk and emotion are probably, well, certainly calculating risk and emotional trading are one of the biggest stumbling blocks that the retail trader and the inexperienced trader comes across. So, I believe I've taken the strong points out of Afghanistan, and hopefully, I've been able to use them in preparing us for trading. So, risk, as you would expect, is high in your agenda in a war zone. People unfortunately are killed on a daily basis, and ultimately you have to reevaluate your safety and the safety of your friends minute by minute, because everything changes. Everything changes. As quick as the weather can change, the situation can change in Afghanistan. So you can never tell if there's a rocket attack is going to hit your building, the tent that you sleep in, or even the shower block you're using at the time. So you're constantly aware of your surroundings. You're constantly asking yourself questions. Have I got the necessary clothes? Where's my body armor? Is the other equipment near me that I need should I come under ground attack? We had something called a grab bag, which pretty much had your essentials in should the base be overrun, and we'd have to evac pretty quickly. That had your bare basics in, your photos of your loved ones, some water, and a few other essentials. So, again, with emotion, I believe being in Afghanistan, it gave me some valuable tools which I can bring to trading. So, Gavin, if I can pass this over to you, what this is, this is a video, and it just highlights the fact of whilst I'm trading, what I would hear whilst I'm trading, whilst I'm in the DFAC, or whilst I was doing a webinar. This is pretty much I'm trying to give you a sense of, we'd be sitting eating, we'd be sitting doing, whatever tasks we were set out for that day, or sleeping. And this would pretty much be my wake-up call. If you can run the video, please, Gavin.
Yep. Okay. So let me run this for you. You should all be able to hear this. And as Darren said, let me be clear. There was no one injured or hurt in this. No one was killed. This is not a graphic video in any way, shape or form. But what it does do, and it did for me certainly, which is why we decided to show it, is prove to you what other people in the world are going through. And remember, as Darren will explain shortly, he was actually looking at the charts and trading during moments like this. So let's play it and see what you think. It's about a minute long. It's not great quality, but Darren will explain at the end exactly what's going on. So here we go. So I'll hand the screen back to Darren, and he can take you through what just went on there. And I have to say, I thought my trading office was difficult sometimes. Darren, back over to you, and you should be able to show your screen now.
Thank you. That was pretty much the scene that every moment of the day we would hear something similar to that. We had a number of different alerts, one for rocket attack, one for ground attack, and so on. But I just wanted to give you a feel of what it was like. Like I say, we could be sitting doing a seminar a webinar as we are now, and literally that would go off, which it did on a number of occasions, and certainly when I look back, I laugh. I've actually had to type into the question box which we all use and say, sorry Gavin, I need to go because I'm under attack at the moment. I need to go to the bunker, and there's a number of times where I've just giggled to myself as I've been going and thinking, it's surreal basically. But the photograph on the left is pretty much, I was actually in a webinar. I'm actually looking at my computer screen there when an attack went off, and I pretty much, because it was a ground attack, I had to don my body armor, which you can see. So after a ground attack, we're pretty much confined to where to the room or the building that we're in. So I was able to stay there and continue the webinar, but actually sitting with my body armor on, which again, looking back, looks very, very strange and brings back some very peculiar memories, shall we say. The photograph on the right of your screen is me in the bunker. Actually, during a ground attack during one of the days, it was at one of the control points on the base. So we were pretty much we had to gear up, body armor in there. And just to point out what obviously I've blanked people's faces out. What OPSEC actually means is operational security. I'd just like to point that out, that obviously there's guys who were in that photograph who were still in Afghanistan, and I didn't want to compromise their security in any way, shape or form. So that's the reason why people's faces are blanked out. But like I say, I hope the video just demonstrates pretty much that it's the worst type of an alarm clock you can get. And predominantly, I was lucky enough because we have a transient area in Kandahar, which has got bunk beds. So if you depending on the circumstances, you may be unlucky enough to be on the top bunk and have to jump out of the bed to get to the bunker, which is in the photograph, or you may be unlucky and be in the bottom bunk and the guy on the top bunk actually lands on top of you before you get to the bunker. So again, we've had many strange sights during that time as well, where there's just been a crumple of people trying to jump out of beds at the same time and landing on top of each other. So controlling emotions is pretty much one of the points I wanted to try and put across. And whilst I was in Afghanistan, Dr. Gary Dayton, who's done a few webinars that I've been lucky enough to be part of, and Dr. Dayton has a PhD in psychology, so he knows his way about emotions and how to control them, and I actually used a few of Gary's techniques in Afghanistan, believe it or not. So what he teaches is how to eliminate negative emotions and how to control how to control your emotions. So, you know, I found Gary's approach absolutely fascinating. And I really would recommend that if, you know, if anybody needs, you know, if you find yourself emotionally trading and, you know, and you're upset because you've been stopped out, or, you know, you, you're looking at the charts and you know, you're clenching your fists and you're looking at the screen going, I missed the trade, I wanted to be in that trade, you know, and then you start counting the money that you've lost, then you know, I would really recommend that you look up Dr. Dayton, because he really does, you know, he really does know his stuff. He has a book due out in December, I think, so that's definitely one for my Christmas list, because you know, I've seen his stuff, I've actually used it, so I would really recommend it. Really has paid wonders for me on the time that I have spent studying Dr. Dayton's material. Again, you know, I started looking at controlling emotions within the trading pretty much early on. And I knew, you know, the retail trader, the herd, traded on emotion. You know, that was their Achilles heel, if you like. So pretty much, you know, this was a field that I started researching, you know, quite deeply, to be honest. And Mark Douglas's books, again, you know, you can get these on Audible, because I understand not everybody's a book reader. You know, I understand that, you know, you may not have the time, you know, just to be able to sit and read a book, especially with, you know, with young children, careers, commuting to you know, back and forwards to work, and trying to fit everything in, including trading and studying trading, and you know, in your daily routine. So, you know, there is Mark Douglas has some videos on YouTube, and some Audible books as well, which I found are fantastic, where, you know, you can just put them on your MP3 player or your smartphone, and I would actually take them to the gym. And, you know, I'd be doing a little bit on the treadmill and listening to Mark's stuff as well, which I found, again, fantastic. A really very, very enthralling subject. So this is pretty much my turning point. During my early conversations with Gavin, like I said, I spoke to Gavin at length a few times on Skype, and this, you know, I'd like to point this out. This was way before I had anything, you know, anything at all, product-wise from TradeGuider. You know, I hadn't purchased anything. I wasn't even inquiring really about purchasing, you know, products or looking at products. But, you know, I asked Gavin a few questions through Laura, his wife, through the emails, and Laura was kind enough to pass that on to Gavin, and Gavin, you know, really, you know, went the extra mile to accommodate somebody in Afghanistan who's asking questions which were probably didn't make the slightest bit of sense, to be fair, because, you know, like I pointed out earlier, I knew very little about trading. Excuse me. And I had no trading background, no financial background. I was just, you know, your normal type guy, you know, the same guy who, you know, you go to the pub with, or you know, you meet in the gym, or probably you'd probably meet us more in the pub than you would in the gym. But, you know, but I'm just your normal, you know, run-of-the-mill guy. So, you know, me and trading were probably at that time in Afghanistan worlds apart. But like I said before, I was looking for something, and I was looking for a way out of the life I had, and looking for something after, you know, my time in Afghanistan. So during the early conversations with Gavin, Gavin asked me if I'd come across the law of attraction, and to that point, I hadn't. You know, I'd never heard of law of attraction. But the strange thing that I did find is over the last 10 years, roughly, yeah, but about the last 10 years, there's a book called The Secret, which some of you may know or some may not. But the Secret was an Australian journalist not adaptation, but her take on the law of attraction, and this I kept getting links for it in my email box, and just kept ignoring them and deleting them and so on and so on. And Gavin, this was one of the books that Gavin recommended, by Rhonda Byrne, The Secret. And it's, once I read this amongst a couple of other books, it just significant changes, and it really did change my life at that point. So I really did get heavily into the law of attraction, and to say it blew my mind, that would be an understatement. But unknown to me, the actual rules, if you can call them rules, of law of attraction, I've pretty much been following for a majority of my life. I've always strived to achieve the best I could to always keep moving forward. But it was after the death of a close friend in Afghanistan, and that was probably one of my lowest points, apart from my father-in-law passing away in my early days in Afghanistan. This was really very traumatic, and it was really hard to deal with, to be honest. Certainly the days and the weeks that followed, I realized pretty quickly that if I continued to let this drag us down, which it really was at the time, and I didn't control the thoughts that were going through my head, then it was going to make me ill, to be fair, because I stopped training, I stopped going to the gym, I stopped eating, so it really was a bad time. So like I said before, I didn't have any experience with trading on the financial markets, but what I did start spending a lot of time thinking of, I wanted something else. I wanted to be able to control my own destiny. I didn't want to be contracting for the rest of my life. I wanted to spend more time with my wife and my daughters. And I also wanted to travel the world. Like I said, being in Afghanistan and meeting the Afghan locals and every other nationality you can think of in Afghanistan as contractors, not as military, was just fantastic. So I wanted to, I wanted to make that one of my, the prominent things in the list of things to do. So I spent weeks, which that then dragged on into months, on how can I make this happen? How can I make this change? And it was roughly, I think it was Christmas 2013, when I discovered market manipulation, like I touched on earlier, through Boardwalk Empire. So I was back in the UK for Christmas, which was the first Christmas I had back home since 2010. Sorry, 2010. So I was relaxed. I was looking forward to Christmas, as everybody does. But it was special because I'd missed 2 Christmases in Afghanistan. So it was a difficult time for my family, certainly at Christmas, but it was a difficult time for myself as well. So to be back home with family and friends was fantastic. And like I said, then out of nowhere, the idea of trading just began to manifest slowly. And I kept thinking, well, is this something I can do? How would I be able to get into this? So by early January, I was back in Afghanistan. I'd finished my R&R, my vacation at Christmas in the UK. So I was back in Afghanistan. I was miserable, I was lonely, and I was looking for something to occupy my mind, to to stop me thinking about home. And then, as I said earlier, I ended up in a conversation with Gavin about the law of attraction, and this was the light bulb moment. Often, other people describe where, you can recall that point where there was a big change in your life and in your way of thinking, and that to me was, what I would describe as my light bulb moment. So I began to read books and watch YouTube videos on the law of attraction, and at the same time I was studying the trading and using Wyckoff's books, and also Jesse Livermore's, and a guy called Nicholas Darvos, which is another fantastic book I'd recommend that people read, which also lists the reasons why you avoid the media and the manipulation. Darvos is quite a unique character, a very, very good book. And along with Gavin's book and Tom's book, which I've read so many times, that's pretty much the where my actual thought process of becoming a trader actually started. And this was one of the first books Gavin recommended. This was actually the first book on law of attraction that I read. And all I can say is, if you haven't read this book, then read it. Read it and then read it again. And if if you're willing to open up, then I promise you one thing: you are in for a truly fantastic journey. You really are, because I'm living proof of what Wallace D. Wattle says. And I'm not unique in any way, shape or form, but my journey started because of hooking up with Gavin Holmes and the law of attraction. And I genuinely, Gavin said it before, I don't believe in coincidences. I think things happen for a reason, and please don't for one moment think that I understand the law of attraction, because I don't. I don't know why it works. It's it's like market manipulation. I don't need to know why it works. I don't need to work out and dig into it too deep of the mechanics of it. I just need to use it for my benefit. So following on the law of attraction, Jerry and Esther Hicks, these books, and again, I'll touch on it again. If you're not a book reader, you can also get these on YouTube as videos, and and also as audible books, which again make great reading, especially when you're in Afghanistan and you're in a 4x4 tent with curtains. So it does make really good nighttime listening. So I would strongly recommend these. But Esther and Jerry Hicks, fantastic. Unfortunately, Jerry passed away a few years ago, but I think Esther's still producing material. But what these guys don't know about the law of attraction isn't worth knowing. And what it gives, if you're like me, you need a practical, you need a hands-on approach, and you need to it's great studying, but you need to you need to put some meat on the bones, and you need to be able to, well, how does that work? Certainly, how can I make it work for me is probably the point I'm trying to make. So the the Hicks, that material is really fantastic. Sorry for that. That's something in my charts in the background. So Rhonda Byrne, a majority of people I would imagine have heard of The Secret. It's got millions and millions of followers at the moment. But this really has got so many brilliant people giving you advice. Bob Proctor and other people like that. So if you read this book and you can you will be able to relate to things that you've done in your past, and you can go, actually, yeah, I can relate to that. I can understand that. When I was 20 or when I was in my 30s, I decided to do this, and I focused and I was positive, and yeah, I did get that promotion, or I did get that job I was after. So this is just the Secret's the beginning of quite a few books which I'll touch on a bit later. But I would really recommend you research it, because the law of attraction material really is life-changing if you give it a chance. This guy Paul Evans seemed he brings he uses the law of attraction. Paul's a very successful coach, business coach. Paul's made millions and he's lost millions and then made millions again. And Paul's got some great material that he done with Gavin in Trade Guider, which I think's available on Scoop, which we'll come across in a moment. But these videos are I think are on YouTube as well. But Paul's book's a fantastic book, and if you not just for trading, this can be for the information and the material can help you at work, sport. It really does have an influence on positive thinking. So again, like Dr. Gary Dayton's stuff, I would definitely recommend you give this stuff a try. It's worked for me, and like I said before, I'm just your average guy, not super intelligent, no financial background, but it really is down to earth, really good information that you can use to change your life, and in whatever stage your life's at. If you're at your wit's end and you're at the lowest you've ever been, this stuff, you've only got one place to go, and that's up, and this stuff really does help. So market manipulation. Basically, there's two sides of this discussion. You either believe that the markets are manipulated, or you don't. If you don't, then genuinely, you're trading it at the mercy of other people. You're not in control. Again, my personal opinion. People have different opinions, but my personal opinion is that I believe the markets are manipulated, and that's how I want to trade. I want to trade knowing that what the rules of the game are. So it's been widely documented that over 90% of retail traders lose most, if not all, of their money in the markets. It's even been common practice for hedge funds and syndicates to have failed in the markets. I think it was the 5-10 years ago. You were at somewhere like 3,000 hedge funds in the States. Hundreds of those funds went down, and these are professional traders. These are guys with a lot of money in the market, and a lot of financial power, but yet they still failed. They still failed in the market, and most of them, believe that the markets are a fair playing field, that market manipulation is just a conspiracy theory. And I'm not into the conspiracies. I believe on the research that I've done that it's a common factor between failing hedge funds, the retail traders. They believe that the market isn't manipulated. So Wyckoff, amongst hundreds of other traders in the early stock market days, realized very quickly that significant amounts of money could move the market. These guys who were coming in with hundreds and and thousands of contracts, they're gonna move that price. It's just the way it is. The weight of their money, it's like the biggest bully in the schoolyard scenario. If they're bigger than you financially, then they're going to dictate where things go. But there's hundreds of articles on the internet detailing and explaining market manipulation and its participants. There are some fantastic books which every trader should read. Again, we'll touch on that in a moment, on the subject, to open up the mind to the possibility that all is not what it seems in the markets. But I won't, I won't dwell on manipulation too much. Gavin covers it a lot in the material that he does. So there is a lot of stuff out there. There's a lot of webinars, that you can look at on market manipulation if you're not sure of what to believe. To be fair, but as a VSA trader, we follow in the footprint of the big players, the banks, the financial institutes, the hedge funds and the syndicates, which Tom's labelled as the smart money. Tom's always pointing out, if you've been able to follow Tom's live trading rooms, to follow Tom's live trading rooms, that we don't need to be cleverer than the big players. We don't need to be able to beat the smart money. We don't need to be executing trades faster than what they are. We've all come across the the flash boys and that type of stuff. We don't need to beat these people. That isn't what volume spread analysis is about, in my opinion. But all we need to do is follow them. It's as simple as that. It really is as simple as that. All we're trying to do is follow what the big players are doing, so that keeps us on the profitable side of the trade. So I'd like to add, volume spread analysis, if it doesn't work and market manipulation doesn't exist, then why do banks and other big, other liquidity providers not want us to have the information needed to follow VSA? So what I've got in front of us here is a few sites which Gavin's going to post the links into the room, Gavin, if that's okay.
Yeah, I'm just posted the Scoop It link. The Scoop It link I've just posted has got all of those in. It's linked to my name, but I've linked every single story that will help anyone that's listening to understand. So it's for those of you listening on YouTube, it's just basically www.scoopit, and then you just put my name in afterwards, Gavin Holmes, you'll find it. But Scoop It is a very useful tool because you're able to upload multiple stories into a particular place. And in fact, Darren, if I may, I'll just quickly take the screen off.
Yeah, certainly.
Give you a chance to go and have a glass of water here. Right, yes, so here you go. So basically, this is the Scoop It page, and what I've done here for everyone, and it's for the benefit of everyone, is this is the link. Now, you've got to be very careful with it, Scoop It, because you've got to put a U in it. But it's www.scoopit.it /u/Gavin-Holmes. I will put this into the chat window here for those of you that are actually here live. But I do know that many people, thousands actually, we've just had our 3 millionth view on YouTube. So I know a lot of people watch this on YouTube. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to highlight it so you can see it up here. Okay, this is the web page, and what I'm going to be doing is adding new stories. And I've only had this working for just under a week, and already 3.3k views. That's a massive number in such a small period of time. But what I'm trying to do here is, as Darren's already mentioned, is link in the whole story of how to trade the markets and be profitable. But we talk about the law of attraction, and Darren's touched on it. It's an important part. And where I link that into trading is your thought process. Everything you do in life is about your thought process. You either have got a good one, a bad one, or a medium one, but one way or another, you're going to have a thought process. In trading, I've learned from Tom Williams that there is a thought process that works. And it works by first recognizing, as Darren's going to show you shortly, with a trade that he's actually taken and one that he was going to take, how the process works. Now, remember, Darren mentioned earlier, he has not, when he started his journey, been a financial person. He hasn't come from a financial degree or from a bank. And most of the people that we encounter at Trade Guide don't come from a financial background. The ones that we work with our fund will definitely come from that background. But the majority of people that we connect with come from a background where they want to learn to manage their money. And they want to understand why they are the best people to manage their money. And this is what we teach. And when you learn how to make an investment correctly, you will go against the crowd. That's the most difficult thing to teach any person, is to go against the crowd. Because if you look at the way sheep behave, when the sheepdogs herd them in, there might be one sheep that runs away from the pen because it wants to go and eat grass somewhere else. You know, people can't liken themselves to a sheep. It doesn't sound right. But in the markets, that's exactly how professional money operate. They fully understand that there is a group of people who act in a certain way, and they take full advantage of that. So, with that said, that is the Scoop It address at the top. I've left it up there for a few minutes so you can see it. And all the links to all the topics that I pick up on will be posted on Scoop It. Back over to you, Darren, and I'll hand the charts back over to you right now.
Thank you. Just a quick sound check.
Yep, you're fine. Everything's good.
Yeah, good. Just take the screen back. Thank you. So, but back to market manipulation. These are some of the articles that I was reading, and just to confirm in my head that manipulation does exist. But like Gavin said, they're all in one place now, which makes it a lot easier, to do your research rather than trawling the internet, back and forward. So it does save a lot of time, and it does make some fascinating reading. So continuing on market manipulation, again, some fantastic books. A guy called Richard Ney was an actor and a trader. And Richard Ney, pretty much after he finished acting and got into trading, spent most of his trading career, should we call it, highlighting the fact, like Richard Wyckoff did, that the markets were manipulated. This guy sang it from the high heavens. And if I'm correct in thinking, Gavin, he even had a number plate on his Rolls Royce with was it Wake Up?
Yeah, WAKE space UP, wake up. Yeah. His message to all his friends in the universe was like, hey, start looking closely, and you'll protect your money, and you'll protect your income. And yeah, that was his Rolls Royce.
Yeah. So pretty much, you know, Richard Nair, he had obviously a huge following from his acting career. So he used that, and he used his, you know, his popularity to highlight the fact he shook quite a few people up on Wall Street. But you know, with the books that I read, and the, you know, the webinars that I followed on YouTube, and the other material that I used, I'm a strong believer in that you're the master of your own education. And what I mean by that is nobody can, you know, nobody's going to give you this information. You know, you have to go out and seek it. You have to go out and find it for yourself. And the information is there. You know, you've just got to, one, you know, want to find the information, but two, you know where to look. So this is pretty much, again, now what, you know, I do need to make this point again. I'm not affiliated in any way, shape or form with TradeGuider. What I am trying to do is I am trying to highlight, certainly to you know, to people who are beginning, you know, their journey into trading, or looking and thinking, you know, yeah, possibly I could do that, you know. But more importantly, to the people who were thinking, well, no, you know, there's no way I can trade. You know, it's not for me. I'm, you know, I haven't got the skills. You know, I didn't have the skills either. You know, I didn't have any skills whatsoever regarding trading. Everything I know now, I've learned, and it's been structured. But I've been lucky enough to you know, that the material is out there, and I found it. And the VSA Club is by far the best collection of material you're going to find. It has everything in one place. I've spent countless hours in Afghanistan, watching you know, some of the videos, and studying some of the courses, and it just worked for me. It may not work for everybody, but you know, it certainly worked for me. And you know, I've covered everything from excuse me, VSA, you know, point and figure, KG charts, which a lot of people who have been doing the recent webinars will know what we're talking about. Point and figure stuff, you know, it's a lesson of it in its own, the same as KG charts are, but they're like dynamite. They really are. To the VSA trader, you know, Tom and Gavin use them constantly. I'm just starting to find my way with them, and starting to understand it, starting it now. But you know, this stuff is like dynamite. There's also a lot on training psychology, which I covered earlier, in preparing, you know, trading plans. So that, you know, the list's endless of the material you can use on there. So, you know, if you're looking for a place to start, you know, this is the place to start. This is where I would recommend anybody goes first, because it has everything from the very beginner to the advanced. The Trading the Market service, again, I use this slightly different to most people. And what I use it for, I use it for not just for, you know, actually trading the alerts, but I use it for learning. And this is like, you know, my exam, if you like. And what I do is I mute the video and I try and analyze the chart with no sound, so I can actually look at it. You know, I take a few notes and try and analyze, you know, what the trade's going to be, you know, and try and, you know, get some trigger numbers or, you know, points out of it before I put the audio on. Then I put the audio on, and then, you know, I work out, you know, where, yeah, I was right, or no, I was wrong, and then review it again and try and work out, you know, where did I go wrong, what did I miss. So, you know, for me, this has just brought me on leaps and bounds. It really has. Again, I understand it's not for everybody, but you know, for me, if you have got, you know, the alert service, try it. Try muting the videos before you watch them. Mute them and try doing your own analysis. And for anybody who, you know, doesn't know what the alert service is, basically it's a video that comes into my emails telling me of trades that are about to happen. I love it, absolutely love it. That and the VSA Club, really, you know, strong tools in my trading education. YouTube, every you know, every research, every topic, sorry, you want to research, YouTube is just fantastic. Everybody knows YouTube, I'm sure, but you know, on VSA, there's just hundreds and hundreds of videos, absolutely hundreds of videos, and this is pretty much where I found Tom Williams after looking at Wyckoff on YouTube, and I found Tom's stuff and moved on from there with Trade Guider. So, you know, I'm probably, you know, a geek, of want of a better word. I love studying at the moment. I love studying volume spread analysis. You know, I love looking into it. I love researching it. So you know, I do enjoy it. You know, I never went to university or studied degrees. So that, you know, this is my time where, you know, I'm dedicating a lot of time and you know, certainly as much time as I can. I mean, I'm into, you know, quite high hundreds of hours of studying, and I've loved every second of it. But YouTube was, you know, was my starter for 10, if you like, and I would urge anybody, you know, who's a beginner trader, anybody who's never come across VSA, you know, go to YouTube first, Trade Guider, or, you know, volume spread analysis in the search bar, and you know, there's enough videos to keep you there for a very long time. The books, my favorite subject. I mean, believe it or not, you know, before trading, I read very few books, very few. Not to say I didn't read any, but I read you know, it wasn't a great deal. And once I got into trading, I just cannot get enough of reading at the moment. So, you know, it's a passion, as studying at VSA is at the moment. But now with Kindle being so popular, books are, you know, you can get decent, really good books now on trading and law of attraction, you know, for a few dollars. It's not much at all, you know, and you know, you certainly with a Kindle, you're not lumping books all around the house or around your office. So you know, if VSA sounds like it's your style of trading, then, and you know, you'd rather be on the side, you know, same side as the smart money really, then, you know, I would urge you to start looking at certainly emotions and law of attraction books. So these are pretty much the books in my library. You know, I have each one of these, and I've read pretty much all of them. There's a couple that are still on my list to read, which making it in the market. I still yet to read that, but you know, Tom's books, Gavin's books, Remnants of a Stock Operator is a tremendous book, based on the life of Jesse Livermore. That really does, you know, explain what Jesse Livermore's thought process was and how he traded the markets. The Richard Nace stuff we covered a bit earlier. Studies in Tape Reading by Rollo Tape, which was Richard Wyckoff's pseudonym. It just explains a lot about, you know, tape reading and how they traded the market and the information that they had available to them at the time. Again, but back into more books. The top three we covered earlier, the Wyckoff stuff. Again, these were adapted. The stock market techniques were adapted from Richard Wyckoff's newsletters that he used to produce, and the courses that he used to produce for the general public. Absolutely tremendous. David Wise, Trades About to Happen. David Wise is again another worldwide recognized Wyckoff specialist. I've been lucky enough to participate in a couple of David's courses as well. Fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Very well respected, and he's a very knowledgeable guy on the Wyckoff methods. So I would urge you to certainly to look David's material up. Nicholas Darvos, again a guy from the early 1900s. He was a ballet dancer, or a dancer as I recall, and he traveled the world, for very well traveled, but he continued to trade the markets. And it's just an excellent insight into somebody, pretty similar to a lot of us who had no experience in the market and started trading pretty much from that point, where he started pretty early on believing that if he just stuck to his plan and the information, the volume, and he would trade his own way, and he made $2 million, which is pretty reasonable by anybody's count. Anna Coolin, another fantastic author. Anna was one of the first people I came across, certainly to do with volume, but yeah, Anna's pretty awesome author, and I would urge you to read her stuff. Funny enough, Tom Williams started Anna off, and a guy called Albert Abos in her actual trading. She went to a seminar that, believe it or not, Gavin, that Tom was running in the early 80s. The last book on this slide is the book by Hoyle. Now, Hoyle was pretty much the same. He was, his descriptions of how to trade the market. Now, I also have a book by Jeremy Duplessis, The Definitive Guide to Point and Figure, which actually he believes, or says he has evidence that he believes Hoyle was actually another pseudonym for Richard Wyckoff. So if anybody wanted a conspiracy, then that's the only one I have. Again, a Definitive Guide to Point and Figure, I'm actually researching that at the moment. And another great book by Robert C. Beckham, Super Time, and it's regarding the Elliott wave. This was recommended to me by Philip Friston. Those of you who know Philip know he's a VSA expert, a fund manager, and an excellent trader. And this was a book that he highly recommended to me. Sticky Stock Charts, strange name for a book, but a very good book when you're first starting off, when you're first starting to learn your way around the charts. But yeah, it's something Gavin recommended to me in the early days, and I know it's something Gavin used in his very start of his journey. So it's another one that I would recommend. The newsletters, the weekly newsletters that Tom does, I don't know how many people have seen them, but Tom pretty much gives you, an insider view of the S&P in particular, amongst other markets, but he likes to concentrate on the S&P, and pretty much you get Tom's expert opinion, but he breaks it down bar by bar. This is, it's like having Tom sitting next to you. He does it with Rita often, and it's just a, and Peter often, it's just another fantastic fantastic resource that I use. And this, you can go through each chart at your leisure, when you feel like it, but it just, Tom breaks it down so easily, and he's been doing them for a lot of years now. There's quite a few volumes of them, but this is something that, just in my spare time when I'm just sitting around, I just flick through Tom's weekly charts and just go over them over and over again, go back, and just try and work out where Tom's coming from. Pretty much the same as what I do with the alert videos on mute. So back to the books on psychology, which we touched before. All of these books I would strongly recommend. Certainly if you realize that you do have a few issues with emotion affecting your trading. The law of attraction stuff, certainly the science of getting rich. Really, really, really good book. Napoleon Hill, again, another fantastic book. The law of attraction stuff. Like I said before, there's follow-on books from The Secret, The Magic, The Hero, and The Power. Again, they're all good. They're all good reads. This is probably one of the most important points that I want to cover: money management and trading plans. Gavin, are you still on?
Listening with great intent. You're doing a good job, mate. Superb. Yeah, because I know this part is vitally important. Exactly.
Yeah. Can I just ask the room just to type in how many people actually have a trading plan?
Okay. Let's do that. So, guys, can we ask you? And I can see the questions here. Yes or no? How many of you here have a trading plan? Yes or no? I'll check it and I'll give you a.
Yeah. Thank you.
just it takes a bit of time.
Yeah, that's fine. So basically, if your trading success is based solely on your planning, I'll say that again because it's so important in my books. Your trading success is based solely on your planning.
Yeah.
Now, what I mean by that? Sorry, Gavin, go ahead.
No, I'm just looking at the amount of comments coming in, so I'm counting. Yeah. You keep going. Yeah. I'm counting.
Yeah. So what I mean by that is, do you know the reason why you're getting into a trade? Do you know how much of your account you're risking on any particular trade? Do you know how much of your account is in the market at any one time? Do you know when you're getting out of a trade? Have you set a stop loss? It's unbelievable how many people that I've come across in my research. I even met a guy in Afghanistan who was a trader in the States who didn't know what a stop loss was. He said, yeah, I've done well. I've made money I've been investing in small gold mines, and but I lost it all. Had a trade go against us, and I said, how much did you lose? He said, I burnt my whole account. I lost my whole account. That's why. Did you not have a stop loss? Where no, I used to have a mental stop loss. I'd know when to get out. But that knowing when to get out, it is fine, but it doesn't help you in say the crash in was it 2010? When market manipulation, if that market shoots down, by the time you hit that button, your account's gone. It's
Now,
as simple as that.
now let me just look at the comments here. So what we've got here, about 30% from what I can see have said they've actually got a trading plan, but most of them are customers, so I can recognise that. So about 70% haven't. So that's quite a large number. Now, just FYI, Darren, we're going to have to, we've been going for an hour and a half, so we're going to have to get through this pretty quickly. We will do part 2, don't worry, because I know a lot of you, which after an hour, you would not believe that 90 minutes has gone, but it has. But this part is extremely important. So just ask you to summarise it. Oh, okay. And Darren, a couple of people said they've taken my trading plan, which I give away freely and have used, and we're going to talk about yours shortly as well. But just be aware, we've got probably another 20 minutes, and then we're going to have to. Otherwise, we don't want to lose people. So, and by the way, just so you know, everyone's still here, so it's brilliant.
Brilliant. Again, I'd like to thank you for your time, and I will push on. Basically, what I want to point out is, without a trading plan, you're there for the taking. The question you have to ask yourself is, are you a trader or are you a gambler? So these are all questions that pretty much you should have answers for. So knowing that you have a plan and sticking to it will without doubt help you control your emotions better and allow you to detach yourself from your emotions while trading.
Darren, there's a good question come in, and I want to interrupt you to ask it. And the question is, at what point in your trading journey did you decide to create a plan and actually use the plan? At what point? Good question.
Well, it's a fantastic question. I decided it was based on a conversation that I had with Gavin. What I was doing is in my early part of trading, I was using a spread betting account. So I was spread trading in the UK, and I was losing money. I was pretty much, I would make it, but then I couldn't keep a hold of it. I would lose it 2 trades later. So that was the same question was asked on a webinar that I was on. Do you have a trading plan? And I responded the same as 70% and said, no, I don't have a trading plan. And that was pretty much, I decided at that point to start working on a trading plan. And when I started working on a trading plan, I then realized that spread betting didn't fit into my trading plan. I couldn't make spread betting work in my money management system, so I stopped spread betting. That's why now I only trade at the moment in the futures market with Infinity, because it's an easier market to control. And I only stick to 6 or 7 markets, and then I try not. I don't try. I make sure that I'm not in any more than 2 trades at the same time. Okay. The reason being is I still haven't got the experience to control more than 2 trades. So that's predominantly when I decided to take a trading plan and how it affected us.
Okay, so let's finish your slides, and then I've got about 6 questions, and they're good ones. I don't want to interrupt your flow. Finish your slides, and then I'll ask you these questions. I think they're really good questions as well. Yeah,
it's fantastic. Like I say, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. The hard work for VSA is already been done for us pretty much. All we've got to do is choose to study it and follow it. And Tom Williams teaches us always trust the charts. If you follow what the smart money are doing, then we will, most of us, be on the profitable side of the trade. You can't have a bias. You're either a bull in a bull market or a bear in a bear market. So the point I want to make is you can learn from 2 sides, and what I mean by that is you can either learn from Tom, Gavin, from Richard Wyckoff, or the market will teach you. That's a guarantee. The market will teach you, but it's going to cost you a fortune to learn your lessons from the market. So, you know, what I would urge people to do is, you know, find a way of getting a trading, certainly, you know, getting a trading education started tomorrow. You know what I mean? Once you start it, you know that you can only move forward from that point. So, you know why you're getting into a trade. More importantly, know when you're getting out of one. So, you know, that would pretty much be my, you know, my number one rule. You know, if I was going to pass any advice on to any new traders, my number one rule would be get a trading education. You would do it for any other business. You know, you wouldn't become a lawyer, an accountant, a nurse, a doctor, any other profession without studying. Trading's no different. Trading's the biggest business in the world, you know, and you have to treat it with respect, because if you do not treat the market with respect, the market will just tear you to pieces. So my final thoughts: nobody loves your trading account more than you. You know, nobody's going to love your money and nurture your money more than you are. Most people get interested in stocks when everyone else is. The time to get interested is when no one else is. You can't buy what is popular and do well. You know, it worked for Warren Buffett, so, you know, if it's good enough for Warren, then it's good enough for me. In which it is shown that if you scrap the traditional approach to the market and attack the financial conspiracy with its own weapons, you can beat the stock exchange insiders at their own game. You know, Richard Ney. The story is told. I love this. You know, I absolutely love this because I really like the gangster era. But I love this quote. The story is told after he had been deported to Italy. Infamous New York City gangster Lucky Luciano granted an interview in which he described a visit to the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. When operations of the floor specialist had been explained to him, he said, "A terrible thing has happened. I realized I joined the wrong mob." Charles Lucky Luciano. This is a brilliant quote from a trade guide customer on one of my first webinars, and it's stuck with me ever since. It's better to be out of the market wishing you were in than being in the market wishing you were out. How true is that? And I'd like to finish by a quote by the guy himself. The market owes you nothing, so ignore the signals at your peril and always trust the charts. The master, Mr. Tom Williams. So that's the end of my presentation, guys, and I thank you very, very much for your time. I really appreciate it. I know it's dragged on a little bit more than I anticipated, but I really, really thank you very much for your time. Gavin, I'll pass the screen back over to you.
Darren, just looking at all the comments coming in, you can't see them all. Super, yep. Super. I have to say, considering that's your first presentation ever, oh dear, I'm going to retire and I'll just send you all my leads and you can just carry on doing this. I mean, no, well done, mate. I think that they came from the heart, and that's important, of course.
Yeah.
I think everyone felt that. I certainly did. I'm sitting here looking at some of the stuff. I think to myself, well, you know, when Tom and I sit there in his conservatory and we're talking to each other about the universe and the law, we talk about the law of attraction, all of that. We don't sometimes realize that actually when it comes back at you, and watching what I've just watched, seriously made a big impression on me, because you try to impact people's lives. That's what we try to do. We try to help people. Wyckoff did it. I mean, Wyckoff went through all sorts of problems in his life, if you go and study it, and so did people afterwards. There's a big challenge to educate people around the world. It's always been that way, because there's so much bad news that, and you've been involved in it yourself. You've been involved in war. But ultimately, what we've done tonight, I hope anyway, for those that watch this video, is show that, yes, there is bad things that go on, but there's also hope. and there's also a way you can learn to do what you need to do. But you made a point earlier on that when you were you first found this information, you didn't accept it that you're suddenly going to be a millionaire. You studied it. Now just talk about that. It's like a golfer. How much work did you have to put in to? And I think you are now close to being a very, very close. I'd say a VSA expert. But you only. When did you first find our work? Was it a year ago, year and a half?
It was roughly about a year ago.
Yeah.
And yeah, I believe you know I've taken it probably a little bit further. You know, I've been lucky enough that Afghanistan allowed me the time and the resources to be able to sit there and study as much as I wanted, and I used it almost as therapy as well, to get us through the hard times. But you know, I genuinely believe that you know 2 or 3 months. You know, if you're willing to put a little bit of effort in, use some of the resources that are available to you. I believe you know within 2 or 3 months you know you can really start to make an impact. You can really you know start to understand the charts, and you know it can have a significant impact on your trading. But you know it's like everything. You know, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it.
Oh,
People don't want to follow VSA. A lot of people write VSA off because you know it does take a little bit of work. You know, it's not you know based on lagging indicators. So you know that was for me. You know, within the 3 to 4 months period, I would say you know that's when it really started to settle in.
now you mentioned earlier the law of attraction. Now this is a problem that my business partner and I had, because I found the same situation you had, but many years before I met you, where I was in a situation where I was frustrated, I was not going forward. I thought I had everything because we had a business, but everything was going wrong. And it was through that moment of thought and process that I found the book I mentioned to you, The Secret, which led me into another path, which led me into thought process. And what I sort of looked at closely, and I know you have, is the process of thought into manifestation, which is where you think something and then something happens a few months later and it's there, but you think, well, I thought about that a few months ago. But if you think about it with enough positive energy, it seems to appear. Now, in trading, you've got to be a bit careful with that, because I've tried to think that I'm going to make a load of money in gold and then lost money. So it doesn't always work the way you think it's going to work. So what we've got to do is educate people to understand that the law of attraction isn't about money at all. It's not about finance, as I found. It's about helping others and helping yourself to grow the universe we live in. And actually, that was the most important point I picked up on when I talked to you.
Yeah.
I wasn't talking about the finance side, because the money comes naturally when you allow it, because it's an allowance, as you talked about with Esther Hicks and Jerry Hicks. And God bless Jerry Hicks, because he was a great, great teacher. What we must learn, I believe, from what we have at the moment, all this information on the internet, is that as we connect with each other, it doesn't matter whether you're a trader, whether you're in the banking system, whether you're a shop assistant, whatever you are, wherever you are, you have the right to grow as an individual and to make money. And money is just a byproduct. It's energy. So, Darren, let me ask you a question that I think I saw a couple of people asking. What made you finally convinced that the law of attraction works, and what moment was the defining moment for you? And it's a good question.
I think the defining moment for me was the realization that you know trading was available. It was available to me. It was within my grasp, and you know trading is, for me, isn't about the money. the trading for me and the law of attraction for me is, what I wanted was more time with my family. I've lost 3 years in Afghanistan, so the, that was my dream, and that's what I was asking the law of attraction and using the law of attraction for, to find a way of being able to spend more time with my family. And trading, like I say, I was never ever looking for trading. Trading found me. And the defining moment for me that law of attraction worked, or is working as it continues to do on a daily basis, was when I found the route of trading will lead me to that being able to spend more time, quality time with my family.
And that's valuable. So let me just ask the audience here: have you all enjoyed Darren's presentation? Personally, 10 out of 10, mate. I'll Skype you afterwards, but excellent. Yeah. And I hope you've all will at least recognise that someone's coming out to at least give their perspective, with no underlying reason to do it, just to help you. Do you all feel that? Yeah, okay. Everyone's typing in. I can't repeat all of it. yeah, great. Loved your energy. That's how it works. Yeah, that's how it works.
Again, I'm humbled that people have taken the time. Time is valuable. I certainly realise that as much as anybody, and I really, really do appreciate the fact that people have taken time out of very, very busy lives, which we all have at the moment, to come and listen to the rantings of a mad Geordie who's been in Afghanistan.
Well, actually, no. I'll send you some of the comments that are coming in, Darren.
Yeah.
But they're all the reason I knew we would get the same comments that I'm seeing, a load of them now, they're all the same thing, because you've given your time. You've given your experiences, and some of us in life have never experienced what you've experienced. I can't claim to experience anything like that. And by the way, someone said, have you met Darren? No, never. We've never met. Have we, Darren? We've never met.
No, we haven't met. We've spoken at length.
We've never met.
But we've never met.
No, not in person. I've never shaken his hand. Never seen him in person. Never. That's an absolute fact, and I think some of you are stunned with that. No, we haven't. And that's some of the people I've worked with here in Trade Guider, and especially in Poland and Russia and other places. Some of the people I haven't met. Some of the people I have. Grigory and some of the other people in Russia, yes. But there are some people that we work with that we've never met, but trust comes into that element. But isn't it a wonderful thing that you can bring someone in who you've never met? I've never ever shaken hands with Darren. I'm bringing him into our database, and you're listening to comments, and that's what it's all about. And ultimately, the final message I'd leave with this before we finish, because we've overrun a bit, but it's so many people still here. I'll finish with this final word. When you want to be anything in life, doesn't matter what you think you are right now. And you've heard Darren's story. You can be in a tent in Afghanistan. You can be in. I've been in some bad places too, not quite as bad as that. But you can always get out of that place with the right thought process, the belief that there is something bigger out there, and then when you use the law of attraction, which is a universal law like gravity, all you're doing is allowing into your being a possibility of something better. But if you switch on the television and you watch CNN, BBC and all of these programs, you will never see good news, because it's never meant to be. So beware of the news, listen to your inner thoughts and your being, think of all the wonderful things that go on in the world. And by the way, if you want to be a good trader, it takes, as Darren just explained, it takes a bit of work, a little bit of effort, and sometimes a lot of effort. But and Darren and I talked about this last night, if you want to be a great golfer, like Rory McIlroy or Tiger Woods or any of them, They didn't sit in bed every day and go, well, I'm a great golfer, and go and hit a great round. No, they worked. They made the effort. If you want to be a great soccer player like David Beckham, he didn't sit there on his arse every day. No, you know what he did? Every time they finished training, he got up and practiced more. He was the best in the world at free kicks. Bend it like Beckham. You want to really be good at what you do. Wake up every morning. You're blessed. You have within you the power to do whatever you want to do. Believe in it, take it, and then go and enjoy it. But if you're in a bad place right now, wherever you are, or you're listening to this recording, believe in yourself. You have the ability. You do. You just need to open your mind. Your mind is like a parachute. It's best used when you open it. God bless you all. Take care. Darren Jobling, superb job. Take care. Thanks, everyone. Goodbye.